Ty the Tasmanian Tiger is like flipping through channels late at night and coming across an episode of an old favorite sitcom. You stay and watch and get to experience the comforting trials and tribulations of bygone days in an art form that's not trying to open your third eye. It just wants to entertain. And by God, that's good enough for me. Personally, Ty and I didn't meet until production of this very video, but I've heard good things about the man in passing. K.O. the Kangaroo spoke very highly of him at his cousin's wedding. So I was interested to see what this Avenger of the Outback could provide in my search for ways to kill time until time kills me. And I'll tell you up front, I think I got pretty much exactly what I wanted and expected from this piece, and that's worth quite a bit. Ty represents a period of history and culture that, after 2.5 decades of Earth spinning, simply isn't seen anymore. I think in order for that to be felt, it helps to illustrate the environment that provided the necessary conditions to gestate this PS2 disc. Production began on Ty in December of 2000, starting out as a scrappy 5-person team with a love of 3D platformers banding together to add their own to the tapestry of history. Soon, Chrome Studios grew to a healthy 40-strong dev team, and this Australian studio deliberated on bringing their homeland to life in a digital playground. We'll explore what I think makes Ty unique within this framework, but I do want to frame this first. This game is the result of a particular point in our cultural development where the technology was such that it was possible to get together and make something that could rival in production even the top dogs in the industry. You can talk all day about the design superiority something like Super Mario Sunshine has over Ty, but on a technical level, I don't think the differences are that vast. At least not as continental as the difference between a AAA game and a smaller title is now. Reminds me of when a filmmaker like Steven Soderbergh assembles a lean team of craftsmen to help him build a movie that, at least technically, punches so far above its budgetary weight. It's hard to come up with the comparison in video games today because technology has officially outpaced the industry's ability to compensate for it. Video game production, as I'm sure you know, has only gotten exponentially more expensive with each passing generation. It requires more and more labor to push the hardware to its limits. You now have a gulf where mid-sized development teams used to be able to produce things that sat comfortably between technical revolution and broken disappointment. Now, design and artistry-wise, indies are still there pushing the medium forward, but I don't think any of them could be considered technically cutting edge. But then again, I don't know a damn thing about video game production. I can only tell you what I noticed from the rotting world around me, as a simpleton myself. I make the sitcom comparison because, in my mind, they represent a particular point in American culture that is now dead and confined to wispy remembrances. I know Australians made this, but I'm an American, just hear me out. I can watch a 90s sitcom and taste the final breath of believing in things, before the 90s never ended and just kept cannibalizing itself for 30 years, producing nothing but factoried culture. Those sitcoms weren't meant to be anything other than a comforting character drama that let us escape into the problems of fiction to help sublimate the terrible facts of our reality. Now imagine they stopped making sitcoms in the 2010s and all you had on television was either the Rings of Power or YouTube video essays. God, this sent shivers down my spine. Let me just preempt this point too. I know it's ironic I'm centering talk about an extinct form of video game production around a game starring an extinct animal, but what can I say? There's layers to this. Somebody better check on Ty, actually. I hear the British Empire put a price on his head because he ate too many of their sheep. Our opening cutscene shows Ty doing whatever the fuck it is these things used to do before we killed all of them. Apparently it involved a lot of posing. I love that they're trying to make Ty Sonic the Hedgehog levels of cool here. Nothing wrong with wearing your influences on your sleeve, folks. In fact, I encourage ripping off your influences. Anyways, the Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. While playing tag with his blue rat thing, Ty falls down an inconspicuous hole that has him break his ankle tumbling into this massive cave. Luckily for us, it's the cave of narrative convenience, for our boomerang lights up these cave paintings and summons the spirit of the Bunyip Elder, a walking piece of Aborigines culture that proves ghosts are real, and we should all be afraid. Anyway, he tells Ty it's time he knew the truth. You see, our entire lives, Ty believed his parents were killed in a tragic feral camel encounter. An invasive species over there. More people died of them than smoking. Though Ty can now stop hating those fucked up looking horses because the truth is a little more complicated. You see, many years ago, 5 mystical talismans sat protected in the Rainbow Cliffs. These 5 talismans, when united, could harness ultimate power. But Australia is a peaceful land, so nobody tries to just take them from the town square. Until one day, when a great war was fought for control of the talismans. It actually didn't look that bad as far as wars go. This dastardly cassowary named Boss Cass shows up in a giant gorilla mech to use the talismans to create an upset in the delicate natural order. The war lasts about 5 minutes and it ends with Ty's mom doming the guy in the back of the head. Unfortunately, Boss Cass has a button for that, and he uses his own talisman to complete the set, opening a rift to a land called the Dreaming. As the family of Tasmanian tigers guarding the talismans are sucked away to a purgatorial nightmare, Ty's father throws his emergency oh shitarang to scatter the talismans in a last-ditch effort to keep them from Boss Cass's control. Word on the street is that bird bitch is on the hunt for them again, and as the last of the Thylacines, the final Tasmanian tiger, it's up to this apex predator to get those artifacts before the cassowary does. Rescued from the cave by Maury, our cockatoo companion. He doesn't question if Ty hit his head too hard and takes his hallucinations at face value. I wish my friends did that. With that, Maury takes us to the Rainbow Cliffs, the game's hub world. Our first area of interest is called Bly Bly Station, where we meet Julius the koala. He's our tech support, and he's managed to construct a machine capable of sniffing out the talismans, so to speak. Once they've been found, Julius's machine can bring them right to us. So it's a magnet with extra steps. To power the machine, our little koala pal needs the elemental power of the Thunder Eggs, this game's main collectible. Julius, in turn, has conjured some portals that will take us to where the eggs are hidden, because science and magic are the same thing over here. So we head to 2-Up to stretch our legs and get tutorialized. Ty lands gracefully and meets up with Maury, who's agreed to help us on our quest. He lets us know that he's managed to find us a second boomerang.
See that tree over there?
Yeah?
Well, it's not there.
Right. Well, where is it?
I think Ty might be stupid. Right away, I notice how smooth the movement is. My most basic interactions with the level design feel good as I run around these cliffs with the perfect amount of weight behind me. It also makes maneuvering around enemies more fun than it would be otherwise, which is probably how you start to make a really engaging combat system in a 3D platform. Look, Ty even does that horrible bite thing those things used to do. We nabbed the second boomerang, and this bird fucker acts surprised. Why the hell did I have to come all this way anyway? I thought Australians have boomerangs like we have homeless people. Regardless, Maury tells tale of a trick you can do once you have that second stack. Apparently, if you have a boomerang in each hand, it allows one to glide, which doesn't make sense to me, but neither do real physics concepts like the electron. So whatever. After beating the tutorial, we're now let loose in more open stages. For our first trip, I decided to take a walk in the park. So you have 8 Thunder Eggs in a level. 1 for collecting 300 of these opals scattered across the place, 1 for freeing 5 of these bilby things Boss Cass is in the middle of human trafficking, and 6 for completing some challenge within the level itself. You need 17 to power Julius's talisman machine, giving you some decent wiggle room in terms of deciding which eggs you'd prefer to tackle and which are best left uncollected. One of the goals here seems to be to take you on a tour through a digital jungle gym tailored after the Australian wilderness. We start in a rainforest, heavy drops pattering against the leaves and rolling like glass marbles in an endless cacophony of downpour. Even the air is damp, and the dirt beneath Ty's feet is warm and soft as the ground shapes itself around his paws. There's an enormous water slide Ty can ride, a ferocious stream that swallows us up and propels us along winding curves, walls of green blurring as we're rocketed through the angry current. Life festers in every corner, calling out to us as nature bounces against itself in an endless scream where Ty's hopes and dreams blend into the noise of this fragile ecology. Ty the Tasmanian Tiger's biggest issue is just that it's a little stiff around the edges. We use the jump as a microcosm. It's just a hair too heavy, and I don't have the kind of mid-air maneuverability that would make me feel more comfortable. It's nothing unbearable, it's just not intuitive for me, and I had to get used to the platforming. But the jump is the most glaring just because you use it so much. Most of the other rough edges in the game feel are things you can pretty quickly adjust to. Like I said, it's just that not all of it is intuitive. You meet a cast of characters throughout your journey, and they'll be the ones to give you missions and narrativize the objectives. I like these guys. The first person I met up with was Ranger Ken the Tasmanian Devil, who needed me to save this flock of cave bats while fending off giant beetles. Then there's Shazza the Dingo, who needed me to fend off these blue-tongued skinks while she paid the price for having a busted radiator. But, and this can't be stressed enough, just moving across this landscape is fun in and of itself. And again, yes, this type of game with a Mario moveset and level design to squeeze the most out of it is more immersive and engaging design-wise. But nailing the fundamentals apparently goes a long way. Ty simply feels good to move around here, and even the simplest challenges are rewarding on some base level because of this. Let's take this further and head to the next stage, Shipwrecks. This is a gorgeous trip to the Great Barrier Reef. I'm playing the HD remaster, but even with that in mind, these environments are gorgeously rendered. The lead designer mentioned how proud he was of the water they were able to implement, and so I'm calling special attention to it here, out of respect for a guy whose mom I banged. The first person we met out here is the lifeguard Rex. He gives us our first objective. Apparently his girlfriend Elle went out to Danger Spike, a place past Shark Reef, and he asked us to go looking for her. I guess he expects me to bring back shark excrement. It's Rex here that teaches little old Ty how to swim, and he gives us a special pair of boomerangs that will work underwater. He just found them one time. Ty's staccato responses during the exchanges are hilarious. It's like his brain went into overdrive trying to process all that information, and all the gears could churn out was...
You beauty.
Look at him stare off into space. Quit looking right into the sun, buddy. You're gonna hurt your eyes. The swimming's actually not bad here. Your control's decent enough, and I'm comfortable with the momentum you carry before coming to a stop. You get some real speed when you assault the jump button, and I had some fun dashing through the water to follow my seahorse mate to Danger Spike. Damn, Rex bagged him a platypus milf. Hell yeah, up top, buddy. Come on, don't leave me hanging. You know, I think the beach is awful in real life, but this virtual one is a treat to the eyes. The sea reflects a magnificent blue, Ty's fur made heavy and warm under the weight of the ocean. He looks up and can only see the world through refracted parodies, the forms of land becoming vague and twisted as light attacks the surface of the water. One mission has us searching for this seahorse's missing kids, and in it we scour the rippling sandy hills that make this underwater architecture, invisible buildings and streets that make up the entirety of the world to those lonely fish in the sea. After going through both levels, I was still missing 4 thunder eggs to power Julius's machine. I had plenty of options to cycle through, like this race down a water slide against a wombat that somehow got both an Australian and Californian accent at the same time. I appreciate the freedom there to only engage with the challenges you most enjoy, because I refuse to do those 300 opal missions. They stress me out. I always end up getting circles under my eyes scouring for the last few. So, after some cleanup, I managed to get Julius those remaining eggs. His machine hums as it pulls to us the talisman. But Julius's machine sucks, I guess, because he drops it down another hole, and Ty's gotta go get it. This leads to a fight with a razorback boar named Bull. The fight is exactly what you think it'd be. He charges, you goad him into pillars that give him head trauma. And he fucking deserves it too. Who is the asshole who heard this noise peak over and over again and felt like it would be the optimal way to convey this pig's agony? Whatever, we give the guy a rectal exam and find the talisman lodged in Bull's prostate. I want to change those gloves, Ty. We slot the talisman back in its resting place, and the Bunyip Elder congratulates us on our progress. But now that Boss Cass knows we too seek the talismans, his forces will become even more relentless. Ty remains steadfast, but only because the Bunyip Elder was speaking too fast for Ty to comprehend him. We meet up with Julius in his lab, who tells us he's found a way to harness the elemental power of the Thunder Eggs to create special boomerangs with their attributes. In this case, Julius was able to build the Flamerang, a boomerang that's almost as flesh-searing as when you microwave a honey bun while it's still in the wrapper. We use this new weaponry to melt the way to the next major area. While we do that, we're stalked by a mysterious figure who casts shadows in direct conflict with the angle of the sun. For the first level of this bunch, let's head to Snow Worries. My first priority is to rescue Sheila the koala's little koala cubs. Apparently they went exploring, and one of them caused an avalanche, burying them alive and for sure killing them. She asks us to recover their 8 frozen remains. Lots of rescue my kids missions in here. Parenting in the land down under seems to enjoy a very minimalist approach. The clouds paint the horizon in a gray haze. As Ty looks forward, the swirling veil reveals a mountain range that might go on forever. Pillars of snowy rock rippling into eternity. The ice has made its home in even the air itself, with a blanket of thick white attaching itself to the skin of the world. Trees wear it on their branches, the rock on their faces. At the top of the mountain there sits a mill whose wooden fingers stretch around the cliffs, saw blades whirring and humming and slicing through the matter that meets them. Industry creeps down this icy structure, but the ice does not care for its inclusion. This level was alright. The ice physics don't cover the whole landscape, at least, and the momentum the devs have you carry when you are slipping around is pretty manageable. Can't really carry that momentum forward that well to really blaze across the stage, though, which is my favorite part of having to deal with this change in terrain. Honestly, my biggest complaint is that the ice physics make backtracking occasionally annoying when you're trying to make a return trip uphill.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Yeah, and it's me. The quickest way back is a straight line. With Sheila's kids rescued and enough Thunder Eggs gathered, we're ready to head to the next level, Outback Safari. I would do a poetic description for this one, but honestly, Maury beat me to the punch.
Lots of sand, red earth and rock, and some more sand, and another rock, and more
We get another shake-up to the control as this level has us riding the boar we fingered earlier. Snow Worries was a little light on narrative contextualization, but our favorite characters return to offer up quests in return for those things I need to save the world. Animals have no concept of the future. I guess. Ranger Ken returns, first to have you destroy Boss Cass's toxic waste pumps in this minigame to save the watering hole. He then gives you a second water-based mission, wherein you pull down some water towers to put out spot fires in the little township of Dusty Burrows. Shazza's back too. This time we have to keep her safe while she's being pursued by a gang of motorcycle lizards. For Christ's sake, lady, just start concealed carrying. Once she's saved, she'll then ask you to help her round up 8 emus who escaped and are wandering around the Outback Steakhouse. You've got a very generous time limit to wrangle 8 of the Australian ostriches, but I wanted to highlight the little marathon runner outfits the emus are decked out in. This helps illustrate a point I want to make as to why Ty is a step above other comparable mid-budget platformers. Just adding little details like that shows Chrome Studios had some artists who cared about giving character to all aspects of their game. The animations, for instance, aren't squashing and stretching like they might in Jak and Daxter, but the enemies are still given unique contextual animations. These frills will taunt you and avoid your bite, and Ty even shakes himself dry when leaving the water, for instance. It feels like the craftsmanship is squeezing some real juice out of the lemons they could afford, and it goes a long way to breathe life into the piece. You can also race Shazza after getting a certain egg. These races are here in every stage, but I like when they give me a special character to compete against, like Shazza or Andy. Otherwise, Ty makes a brisk stroll for the sole reason he thinks he's being chased by his shadow. Overall, I like riding this friendly boar, getting a movement shake-up and lassoing things with my lasso that is just a boomerang with a rope attached to it. Bull here makes collecting opals annoying at times because of his imprecise movement, but since I only get these by accident, no harm, no foul. You'll be happy to know, however, the pig screeches still peak the fucking mic. We can now move on to the final level of this roundup, Bridge on the River Ty, in which Ty is captured and becomes a Japanese prisoner of war. I think that's what that movie's about. It's funnier if I just guess. This is probably my favorite level in terms of aesthetic. I love nighttime stages. And this gorgeous stroll has quite the ambiance, as moonlight dresses the land in a soft midnight glow, accented by the red, hot glare of torches. The water is a deep, crystalline blue that beckons us for a starlit swim, begging us to be swallowed up and become some small part of a new cerulean reality. The bridge at the heart of the stage is made from thick, sturdy wood. It sits like a fortress amongst the tree branches. One of the best parts, our flamerang radiates like a light at the end of a matchstick, and the orange coloring lightly paints the environment around you. The character to meet in here is this tree frog named Dennis. He's rightfully scared of Australian wildlife, and so you have to use your flamerang to light his way home. After he's safe, you can also help get his hot water turned back on, because Maury warned me I'd have to prostitute myself out to this rich bitch. Rex is here too, this time taking a midnight swim. He offers to teach us how to dive, where the first lesson takes place in a shallow pond, and lesson 2 has you dive from the stratosphere.
Pass through each of the rings on the way down. If you get them all, I'll give you a thunder egg.
Whoa, you beauty!
Did somebody take Ty out back and get real creative with a power drill and some duct tape, and now he can only say a set of canned phrases to any kind of stimulus? What, I'm just asking. With another 17 thunder eggs burning a hole in my pocket, Julius powers up the machine once more. Once the talisman appears, Ty hops through the subsequently occurring portal and is taken to Crikey's Cove. We have our second boss here, and it's really neat conceptually. You've got what appears to be a jet-powered shark trying to tickle you with its teeth. To gain the upper hand, you've got to shoot these oxygen tanks to distract them. Once he starts chewing on the tank, hit him with the flamerang to watch him blow up. They mostly pull this one off, it's just got those rough edges still. I had to rapid fire the boomerangs once he bit the tanks, but usually he goes up in flames. Upon his defeat, his industrial tumors fall to scrap, and it's revealed Crikey was made into a metal monstrosity by that malicious mallard mastermind. He's actually super friendly, as far as tiger sharks go, anyways. Once again harnessing the elemental power of the thunder eggs, Julius constructs a new boomerang to add to our arsenal, the Frosty Rang. Using that Frosty Rang, we put out some fires and make our way to the final set of levels. The first portal I opted to go for took me to Liar Liar Pants on Fire. We get a cutscene of Boss Cass berating his henchmen for their incompetence. If I were them, I would be beyond terrified. Apparently cassowaries are the only animal that scared Steve Irwin. Really think about that. This bird haunted a guy who called himself the Crocodile Hunter. It's then revealed who that shadowy figure was from earlier. As it turns out, it's our long-lost brother, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. And if it feels like that came out of left field, you'd be correct. Anyway, back to the level proper. We first get introduced to Lenny the Lyrebird, distraught over Boss Cass's kidnapping of one Princess Orchid. He takes you on a tour through the level while telling you of the secret narrative underpinning the Peggle demo that came pre-installed on his Xbox 360. This one's fun. You gotta do the opposite of what Lenny over here tells you to progress. As you do that, you get to take in the scenery. This is a series of winding forest paths as trees stand like lonely sentinels holding up the roof of the world. The oppressive embrace of the mighty flora claims even the cliffside as green sprouts up from the rocks to remind us of life's unnatural potency. The cool shadows cast by the gargantuan trunks lead Ty to a metal obstruction, part of Boss Cass's mechanical domination over even the land itself. So, based on the fact that Lenny is a lying piece of shit, it's safe to assume whatever's up there isn't some Aussie princess. It turns out Sly was lying in wait for his prey, and he ambushes us, confronting his long-lost brother for the first time in years. Ty can barely believe his own eyes as they take in the reality too terrible to accept. I'd milk this more, but I've already run out of cutscene footage. They get right into it. Well, that's dramatic. Ty apparently forgot all about his brother once the drill bit went far enough up his nose. So I felt nothing as I clobbered my only kin. After surviving the fight against Sly, I glide downstairs to turn Lenny into an appetizer. This crafty bitch manages to buy his life for an extra couple of minutes by promising a thunder egg lies cooking in that furnace. If we heat it up, the door should pop open. I proceed to pelt the thing with my frosty ring and think of creative ways to cook Lenny. Ty, what do you think about that, buddy?
Pwah, you beauty!
Yeah, I thought so. I also want to point out how narrow this loss against the wombat dick was.
No one can beat the Andy Man! Go, Andy! Go, Andy!
Fuck you, Andy. For our next romp, we return to the snowy mountains, this time covered in bushfires, tailor-made for our frosty ring. Welcome to Beyond the Black Stump. More like Beyond the Black Mark, because this is the worst level in the game. I mean, it's not awful or painful to get through, it's just got the roughest edges so far, and these ones almost nicked me. Although, to be fair, I also have a deep-seated phobia of mountain levels and platformers, if only because I always fuck up my jumps and end up falling all the way back down. I get real familiar with the rock formations, at least. The only actively annoying mission involves chasing this one particular koala kid named Bonnie. She pinballs around the level, and you've got to try to cut her off to complete the mission on contact. The kid's too goddamn fast, and so I look like a hapless dumbass chasing this thing around the level design. I'm not thinking of the geometry in interesting ways here. I'm crying in every corner. Or take this mission Ranger Ken gives you, where you've got to ride these cable cars up a mountain and can use your optionally acquired Zoomerang to snipe these frills terrorizing the good denizens of... What are the snowy mountains in Australia called? What a stupid country. This could be a really interesting set piece incorporating the mountainside, which was sorely needed. I like when platformers give me a sense of scale, of my smallness against a great, enormous stage. The problem is, these cars are so slow. They should have pumped some of the speed code they gave into the kid into these things. I don't know how coding works. On the bright side, this has been my favorite kid collecting mission so far. I feel like it was a nice and intuitive stroll through the stage, taking me across the level design in ways that felt like a natural progression from koala to koala. I'm also skipping my first non-Bilby or Opal collecting mission here. I'd have to ride those cable cars all the way back up to the mountain because they make you talk to Ranger Ken at the bottom to get the egg after the first round of frill killing. What the hell, game? We can now access what will be our final main level. Rex marks the spot. Oh hey, it's the platypus MILF again. She tells tale of a great pirate treasure hidden somewhere out here in the Great Barrier Reef, and the hunt to find it starts on a nearby island. With that, we're let loose. Ty dashes through the water, past coral reefs whose long and bony fingers curl through the water, ossified at some pastel moment where their color becomes a permanent fixture of the seafloor. We traverse the winding stone innards of a blazing volcano, and we run with sand clinging to our fur beneath the shadows of mangrove trees sprouting like weeds from beneath the grains. You know, I didn't notice it before, but this level made me realize that, so far, these stages have been the perfect size all around. It takes maybe 3 minutes to make it from one end of these places to the other, and that gave the designers enough space to make a fun playground that doesn't become a tiring romp to explore once you're down to the last few collectibles. It's one of those foundational things that Ty nails and leaves him punching way above his weight. I notice it here because this level is way too fucking big. You can only appreciate something when it's gone, I guess. Unless you're my last ex, in which case, the migraine disappears upon your departure. But then I remember the ex before her, in which case, I want my teeth back, you bitch. Other notable highlights of the level include the most stressful minigame of the entire runtime. This octopus has 8 tentacles, and he's not afraid to use every last damn one of them. My platypus pals could at least give me the courtesy of slowing the hell down for a bit, but they got places to be, apparently. And just when I think these guys are only making one run each, oh, Jesus Christ, how greedy are you people? We also meet up with that seahorse lady again, who asks us to silence the ceaseless engine humming that's been haunting her the past week. Drowning these dramatic bitches will prompt the seahorse lady to give us our reward, which is not sex, as her tone implied and Ty was clearly hoping for. Somewhere, deep down in that ravaged cranium, the man still wakes up for seahorse pussy. Amen, brother. 17 Thunder Eggs have once again been haughtily obtained by our Thylacine hero. Julius powers up the machine once more, and it sends us to the next boss in Fluffy's Fjord. I know they had Yetis in Australia. That's pretty neat. Time to immolate him. As we progress through the fight, Fluffy is revealed to be, in actuality, inorganic. So Ty can sleep at night. Use your flamerangs to light up either the robot or these propane vents, I guess, and Fluffy will be burnt to a crisp. But as it turns out, Fluffy was not a robotic Yeti, but a thorny devil. And yeah, apparently her actual name is Fluffy. I checked the wiki. She makes one final stand, but ultimately is no match for Ty's expert use of Australia's most significant cultural export.
You know, if things were different, we could have been a team.
Why does everybody want to fuck Ty? With Fluffy on the run from the Australian government, which I assume is just made up of like kangaroos and spiders and shit, Ty returns to Julius's workshop. This koala is one inventive son of a bitch, because he does the same thing a third time, but this time with rocks that shock you. With those, he bequeaths to us the Zappy Ring, the final elemental upgrade to our arsenal. So these guys must have run out of Thunder Eggs, because our next step is to storm Boss Cass's fortress to nab the final 2 talismans and put a stop to his nefarious schemes. They must steel themselves before this final ascent, because cassowaries are scary and have razor-sharp claws that can slice your arteries. Or they could disembowel you if they decide they're going to kick that day. Man, Australia blows. By electrocuting this generator, we're able to get these doors creaking to open the way to Cass's Pass. We get one last cutscene of Boss Cass rallying his forces around his ultimate weapon, that robot shaped like a gorilla. This is also where Boss Cass reveals his motivations to Sly. He did mention it at the very start, but it's more dramatic to reveal it here. You can thank me later. Apparently, this dastardly cassowary feels a very intense connection to his reptilian ancestors, the long-gone dinosaurs. He seeks to harness the power of the talismans to open a portal to Purgatory, where he can trap the warm-blooded mammals and restore a food chain with the lizards at the top. I guess nobody told this idiot that birds are neither cold-blooded nor are they reptiles, so he's basically a eugenicist with a birth defect. Anyway, this stage is a linear obstacle course, a final set of platforming challenges across Boss Cass's sprawling metal jungle gym. Mori warns us of the treacherous nature of the path, but Ty presses on. Unwilling to be handicapped by that unfortunate encounter with a half-inch drill bit, he manages to get those neurons rubbing together enough to hop and glide through Boss Cass's final defenses. Ty here is a reflection of myself, who also has trouble problem solving, but without the excuse of disfigurement. Basic level design keeps us from being an exemplary finish, but it's stimulating enough. It's definitely the toughest non-koala related mission we've had to endure thus far.
There's a lot to strive ahead, so do your fair dinkum best to make it through in one piece, okay, Ty?
No worries. What's the matter, Maury?
Sorry, mate. I've just got something in my eye, that's all.
Maury just remembers when Ty was eating food from a straw. He's proud of how far he's come. Ty, at last, enters the final stretch in Cass's crest. Shazza, how the fuck? Oh, he's dropped that, apparently. Did we fall into the cave of narrative convenience again? Apparently not, because this cave is home to Shadow the Ghost Bat, the first female animal that doesn't want to have sex with us. She nabs Shazza and the talisman, and thus a chase ensues. This is a 3-pronged boss fight where you fend off these lizards and hit some switches that will open the vent Shadow's perched on, blowing her rear full of noxious gas. It's not hard, use a Zoomerang. Usually the gas is going out rather than in, you know what I mean? Yeah, I didn't like that one either. Here's another one. Ty is so Australian, he sat on a boomerang, and now every time he goes to take a shit, his turds go right back up his ass. That's less of a joke and more of a funny image. Moving on. So we save this dingo lady, who I think is flirting with us? I can never tell. Upon her rescue, we come across Sly again for an epic rematch. A primal, animalistic hate electrifies the room. Lava bubbles beneath them, as does the cauldron of emotion deep within Sly's chest, for the brother he believed abandoned him stands ready to unravel the plans he's worked so hard to materialize. He will not allow him to come between him and victory. for no other reason than relentless pride. Yet he fucking sucks. That was actually very embarrassing. He might be better off if you just let him go, Ty. But of course, Ty saves his sibling. And he does it not because he can conjure his brother's image through the hazy remembrances inhibited by massive brain trauma. No, Ty saves him because, deep down, even with limited cognitive function, the man has a heart of gold. Sly, unable to understand compassion coming from this apex predator, runs off with a complex shame he had never known before. Okay, cool. Boss Cass launches his gorilla mech to once again wreak havoc upon the peaceful people of the Rainbow Cliffs. Luckily for all of Australia, Ty manages to leap upon the machine, ready to stand against the cassowary's crisis-causing contraption all on his own, armed with but a shit ton of boomerangs and some grit. This leads to the final battle. The first stage involves Boss Cass sending up some flamethrowers to defend his metal skin. These things seek to turn you to charcoal, but a frosty rang followed by a mighty chomp is enough to deal with Phase 1. The next stage of the fight has us busting our way to the innards of the thing, tearing down a metal door and coming upon wire intestines we've quickly rendered to cinders, past scaly mercenaries and thumping machinery. Yet, after all that work, this thing still lumbers onward. It seems we need a more delicate instrument to reach the heart of Boss Cass's machine. Luckily for us,
Ty! You'll need this!
Sly! What are you doing?
What I should have done years ago. I'm giving him a hand, mate.
After all I did for you?
What? Lied to me?
this is incredible. They're hitting story beats that don't happen organically. They're just in there because the story is supposed to have them. Who the fuck are any of these people? What are the relationships to each other? I feel like there's a whole lot of character drama going on off screen. Anyway, this is the Doomerang that Sly's dad used to fuck up Boss Cass's plans the first go around. Hey Ty, how does it feel to hold a relic of your ancestry? A symbol that represents your ties to a great and powerful lineage. But more than that, it represents the family that was stolen from you by a monstrous individual.
You beauty!
Yeah, who could have guessed? This thing acts like the remote control Batarang from the Batman Arkham games, but if the control was tuned so that looking at the stick made you do a 90-degree turn. This was horrible, and to make it worse, the thing's controls aren't inverted, as they were when I was swimming. You can see me panic in the footage as muscle memory occasionally flickered into reality, and I needlessly careened into the ceiling. And how long is this fucking tunnel? After flying the Doomerang through what feels like 8 square miles of circuitry, we nail Boss Cass with its explosive power, concussing him and nullifying the 7-story gorilla-shaped tank. With the 5 talismans restored to their resting place, their power can reopen the way to the dreaming, freeing the Thylacines from their purgatorial imprisonment. Actually, it's just Ty's parents that get to go free. The rest of them are just screwed. And you know what? After all that, everything we went through, all the landscapes we traversed, and the colorful characters we suffered through, after all that, Ty does not give a rat's ass that his parents are back. It's because his brain is damaged in such a way that he can only chemically concoct 2 emotions, fear and sadness. Welcome to the fucking club, buddy. Man, what a cozy little game. I'll bookend this with the sitcom analogy. I really do get a similar feeling playing Ty the Tasmanian Tiger as I do watching something like Seinfeld. They really do offer such a comforting escape for a bit, in a way that's stimulating and enjoyable. I wouldn't go to Seinfeld if I wanted to bust a gut necessarily. I go to Franz Kafka for that. But there's a structure there, and they make real exemplary art within that framework. I guess that makes Super Mario 64 like the Metamorphosis or something. What if there was a game where Mario got a bug power-up, but then he couldn't change back and everyone hated him? Ty the Tasmanian Tiger ain't out to set the world on fire, but it has an incredibly solid foundation, and there was enough talented craftspeople working on this to paint the necessary details and to elevate this beyond a formulaic cash grab banking on mascot platformer marketability. And look, I'm at the point where anything I spend my time doing that doesn't make me want to put a gun in my mouth is genuinely worth quite a bit. Thanks, Ty! As the sands of time pour onward and bury us all alive, video games like this aren't allowed to come into being anymore. There's simply no room for them, once the whales ate all their food. So yes, I suppose there was no better protagonist to choose for this extinct style of video game than Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. And I guess extinction is bad. For art, anyway. I'm kinda ambivalent on the issue in most cases. It sucks when things suffer, though, which is why I think humanity should strive for extinction, as we are uncanny mutants of chance with no hope of ever escaping a basically undesirable position. Can you picture it? all of mankind finally banding together with the goal of exterminating hurt. Perhaps then we could finally build a society where we might give ourselves up to a cause at last worth believing in. A revolution of heart and mind that exposes the cruelty of existence and says, no more. And our discontinuance need not be immediate. Perhaps a two-child policy could thin us out, and over time, resources could be more evenly distributed as we whittled ourselves down before bowing out in a graceful, painless end. A euthanization of the agonizing death crawl through consciousness that is each of our individual lives. But that'll never happen, and humankind is destined to die slowly, painfully, and without dignity, mirroring our own miserable blip of existence.